Well, I see you're cozied up to the computer with your old man winter. I have to wear a sweater inside.
It's my Portuguese sweater, man. I love it. I got it. Originally, her mom got me one version for Christmas. Like for actually, no, she gave me her father's old one. Uh, like 3 or 4 years ago. And then when we were walking through, we were in Lagos in the Alentejo. I mean, not in the Alentejo, in the Algarve, in the south of Portugal, and they were like selling these. I mean, for €50, like this is an incredible like thing. And I actually don't think it was even €50. I think it was like €30. Like this was a probably the best purchase I've ever made under $50. I love this. It's stylish. I can wear it out, wear it in.
Okay, so first of all, it's not stylish. Stop kidding yourself. The woman who
Oh
gave
man,
you, she loves you,
no,
so
no,
she.
I bought this. No,
Yeah.
this one I bought.
The woman and her family, they like you, so they're gonna tell you it's stylish. I'm telling you, that's the look. You are about 40 years too young for that.
Oh man, when you done, nah, man. See, here's my thought process on it. When you rock the clothes and because it doesn't look.
Old
Everyone
man,
has no. Every
just
little
doesn't make it a good thing.
yeah. You gotta have your own style, man. and
Your style is what, geriatric?
nah, man.
When you bought it, did they give you a free can of Vicks Vapor Rub?
Nah, man. Nah. But look, judging by the reaction and questions I get about it from cats,
exactly. But I don't think you understand. They're not laughing with you.
Well, no, they're not laughing at all. I guess here's the thing. I mean, that's how I exist, man. That's how I roll through the world. Is pretty much, I rock it. I look, if I like it, it's good. If I don't like it, get rid of it. But one of the cool things about the way yeah, like one of the cool things about the way I grew up, and maybe the way I think or whatever is I am uniquely positioned to just kind of go, well, not uniquely positioned, uniquely developed. If it works for my style and works for my look, and I dig it, you wear it. Because what happens with a lot of people, after having now two-ish fashion consultancies, what happens with a lot of people when it comes to fashion is that we, especially men, we are very timid about anything. If it's not like, let's say, if it's not like an extreme, we're not really. That's why you get guys that either dress constantly in like cartoon shirts and they're like in their 40s, or you get guys that are always in a suit.
So now it's personal.
That's not what I meant. My point is that my point is not directly at you, but in general, guys don't like to try out different style and different things, and then they let and because right, we grew up being told is gay to care about your the way you look, and on top of that, it feels very unnatural, like your clothes are your armor. And that's what you put forth in the world. Tanner Guzzi, one of my good friends in the fashion world, he always says he has this meme. Guys are always talking about they don't care about how they look, and he's always showing different examples throughout history. Everything from like the Japanese samurai to the Inca warriors and the Aztecs, to even the way Genghis Khan dressed and wore, and what the effect was to the papacy in pre-Renaissance Europe. Like everyone use their dress, men and women, but mostly men more than women use their style to send a message. And that's one of the things that's really degraded recently in modern times, is people don't take men in particular don't take the care and won't try different things out with their style.
That's
so
fair.
So I wear it out. I wear out the old man sweater. I wear it out, and I see the reactions. And on top of that, I feel good in it. It fits well. Like my arm is, popping the shirt because it's not big and baggy. The other one is baggy. This one is good. So I'm like, okay, let's see how it goes. And a little. At the end of the day, who's gonna say shit to me anyway, right?
About wearing
you because you're the homie. But like,
yeah. But I understand what you mean about style because I developed, like, I've worn white shell-toe Adidas jeans and a tank top for almost 20 years because my style, it's not necessarily that I have to have nice clothes. I lift a lot of weights. So my thing is I want to wear as much.
You want to show that shit off.
All that stuff.
Right.
Hey, quick question.
Right.
Now, you lived in Portugal. Do they say bom dia this way in Portugal like we do in Brazil?
They don't say bom. That whenever you see that D, that is not pronounced J. That's pronounced duh. Just like in is like boa tarde, that now meus and a mouse. That S is pronounced the same. I think that's how you would say that in a mouse, right? But that D sound, that's a big difference. When I went and I'll just tell a quick story about this pronunciation thing. When it took me in fact, it didn't hit me till I was here. I went to a barber, found a barber, and turns out she was like this chick from Brazil, and that's where she learned to cut hair. And she hooked me up with one of the best fades I ever had. And I said, "Oh, what do I ask for this in Portuguese?" And she said, "Oh, it's a fade." And I just was like, "Okay, that's just what it's called." Right? It didn't hit me until I was like, "Oh, she's Brazilian. It's just a fade." Important, and that's how you would ask for. But yeah, the D, that's the dead giveaway when we were there that somebody was from Brazil, not Portugal. Because they'd say that G, like that G sound does not exist in continental Portuguese.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, you'll have to. You know what? I'd love to talk to your buddy in masculine style. His name is Tanner. Put in a word for me. Tell him I'd love to have him by as a guest.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Tanner's a real interesting dude, man. He's very first of all, he's a Mormon, and that is significant to his identity in general, how he carries himself online. Because the guy's like 33. He's got 5 kids now. 5 kids, all under the age. I don't think one is 10. They've been homeschooling him and raising him in a community with like-minded peers, and is one of the guys that when you get into this online business entrepreneurial type lifestyle, you really have to meet peers because you won't be able to have conversations and relate for too long to people who are still in the matrix per se. And Tanner is one of the first like guys that you see live that lifestyle, but live it in a different way, but still gives you realize that like not everyone's got to do it the same way. But the big thing we all have in common is we are rejecting what is considered to be the American dream and the standard, right?
Yeah.
And so I think he'd be a fantastic guest. Y'all talk to him. Great sense of humor, just a great overall guy. Really articulate, really interesting.
Well, let me back up for the people who don't know. For the people who this might be your first time, Brother Ed Lattimore is constant guest. My door is always open to him. He is a very diverse human being. Everything from a professional boxer to, is it professional chess player or just like a ranked chess player? What's the word for that?
I'm just ranked. I'm ranked, and my goal is to become titled. And titled is when you reach. Depending on who you ask, we'll just use the most general term. Titles when you reach 2,200.
And what is it for how many years ahead that is?
Well, it's skill level. I mean, shit, there are people who reach that when they're like 9 or 10, and people who never reach it. And it's talent. It's taking time to study and focus. I spend a lot of time studying. Right now, I'm kind of stuck at 1,700, but that's okay because that's what happens. That just means there's just like more parts of my game to tighten up and learn. It's crazy, and we were having these talks kind of off to the side about testosterone and TRT when you get older. But one of the interesting things, I was thinking about this the other day, right after we got finished talking, because you always say that nature didn't intend for a man to have the wisdom of an older guy, but the physical capability
of like a twin.
And dude, let me tell you something. when I'm in there sparring and moving around, that's what I was saying. I was like, I'm still in there sharp. I'm aware that a lot of that is just I'm a better, smarter, more patient fighter now. Like that thing you talked about, the wisdom, that shows up even in athletic endeavors. Like I just know how to leverage and get more out of my body, uh, and I don't need to be as fast because I know when you do something, I know automatically, okay, this side is shut down completely. The attacks are gonna come here. I'm open here, so let me shift a little bit and just be ready. And then it just moves along and it's smooth and it's a good time. All right. If I had that, I think about this so often. If they're like I don't have regrets in my life, but I do imagine what would happen if somehow I could take this mind with this knowledge of fighting that I have now and put it in 22-year-old me when I started fighting. But it doesn't work that way. I would have had to have started fighting when I was like 10 and then learn to have the same experiences. And I still wouldn't, because your brain,
Right.
your brain doesn't even finish until you're like 25. And you got to, and then your judgment really, it's supposed to like make a quantum leap. And I remember when I was
Right
like
around 30
26.
for a man.
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, right around 30 is when a man starts to mature. I believe, I have a friend who's in the military, and one of the things he told me, he said, why do you think recruiters go after 19-year-olds and 18-year-olds before they graduate instead of a 24 who might
Dude,
have experience? And
spot on.
he said the problem is you don't want someone who's far enough in life to start asking questions.
Yep.
You want someone who can just learn. I'm not saying that's bad because you need to be able to take orders to conduct an orderly military. But, it's, for example, I didn't have a serious committed relationship to a woman until I was 30, and that went well. And so I have all my other ones. But I was taught, and some people can be mad about it, a man shouldn't have a committed relationship to any one woman or even consider it until he's 30 and has had sex with lots of other women so he knows what they are actually like and knows what he's signing up for.
Right. You need to people get mad. I know that's like not the topic of the show. We always end up talking about really interesting things in general, and that's kind of cool. But I want to that first thing you said about the military and how they don't go after older people and it's younger recruits. Yeah, it's not just I'm reading this book right now that I'm writing notes on to put on my site called On Killing. And it's written by Lieutenant Dan Grossman, and it's just a whole it's a graduate level thesis pretty much of like how we overcome the resistance to killing and our general resistances to killing in general, the percentage of the population that's more likely to kill, that kind of stuff. Real fascinating book. But one of the things he talks about, given his background and what the military does in general, is the recruiting process. And he says that you want young guys because you can take someone who's the military's had literally the entire time of history, like military is if prostitution is the oldest profession, fighting is Todd or second, right? And people taking other people's shit, and they've had all that time to perfect their technique for recruiting and developing a soldier. Meanwhile, the soldier has only been alive for 18, 19 years, let's say 20, and most of that time has been under the guidance of another human being as a child. Yeah, he doesn't stand a chance. He'll be brought right in, enthusiastic, fired up, and converted from civilian to soldier in a matter of weeks. And then is that good or bad? I have no opinion. That's just how that's part of life. But
how about
is
this? Look On Killing. If
yeah.
anybody wants a copy, I want you to email me at YusefWateef at gmail.com. If you want a copy.
Dave Grossman. I always call him Dan Grossman. I gotta
email me at gmail.com. There. Now, what I'm also going to do is I want to show everybody, your Twitter account, because I want everybody to make sure that they follow you there. Here, I'm going to put that up. Ed has one of the best Twitter accounts ever. It is hilarious and it's serious. And he says things that make you think uncomfortably, which is one of the reasons that I wanted him here today. And he's rocking and rolling. Heavyweight pro boxer, 13-1, competitive chess player, full-time author. You don't have your degree here?
I took it out. I used to have it. I decided to take it out.
Why?
You know, I think that okay. So we actually okay. Before I give you how I was eventually persuaded, and I'll put that in quotation marks. Um, I just want to let you know that I actually was kind of on board with keeping it, but I have a pretty trusted advisor who's really helped me make a lot of moves. He's also the guy that runs my site or rather designed the tech behind my site and has come up with a lot of branding. So when he has an idea, I tend to entertain it. I don't automatically give in, but I listen. And he was coming up with some bios and some bylines, and he's like, "Well, look here. When you go and you're going to be profiled and picked up for different publications, different podcasts, media outlets, it sounds kind of odd when you just reference a bachelor's degree. Now, if you're referencing a master's, people tend to do that. And I'm like, okay, I get that. And I play around with the idea. And I go, at the end of the day, yeah. Plus, the other thing, and this is more, this is a personal consideration and the thing that kind of bothers me. It's a lot easier to say competitive chess player, right? That yeah, I can throw that out. And then you play me and you realize I'm not bad. I'm clearly competitive. I'm not a master, but I'm good. When people talk about my degree, they have a hard. They call me a physicist. That's hard because because there's one argument that says a physicist is someone who has studied physics, and there's another one, the more colloquial one, probably accepted amongst my peers. And you got to remember, my peers are the scientists in that regard, which is someone who has done research or has made a major contribution or works in the field of physics. I've done none of those things. I have a knowledge of of physics that is far beyond the average person. My math skills are easily in the top 99 percentile. I'm like nothing compared to my peers, though. I mean, these guys were crazy. But that's why that left. One, marketing. Two, because I really got tired of getting into uncomfortable conversations about physics in terms of my qualifications as a person who studied it. And it's a fair argument. I'm not a physicist in that sense. So there's that.
Okay. Okay.
But the degree, yes, but I'm very proud of it. It's very difficult to attain, and easily change my life. Not just how it made me think, but the process to get it and what I had to go through and how I had to transform. But that's everything, as well. But when you do difficult things, they tend to transform you. Boxing transformed me, studying physics transformed me. Those are two big things that made a difference because you can't make it through those. You can't have any success if you carry with them the same attitudes that you started. No matter how gung ho you are, you're just not prepared for some of the work and some of the sacrifices you're gonna have to make.
Well, let's do this. I want to show them just a quick overview of some of the most recent tweets. I knew I needed to give up drinking, but it took another 2 years of crippling. Oh, well, yeah, this is something you're very open about how you had to just say, I'm going to change. This is leading directly into, wait, Ed, you didn't retweet that we were on right now?
I did not get that. Do that. Let me go do that and throw that up.
By the way, I loved Castlevania on Netflix, and
dude, I'm excited. So I love that game. That was one of the first games for Symphony of the Night, and then I played. Then I went back when you could like download everything on Nintendo in like a second because technology jumps leaps and bounds. And play some of the older games, play some of the newer ones that came out. Lament of Innocence. I can't even remember what the other one is called, but I bought two of them for my PlayStation 2. Just a big fan of the series. It's a cool series. And then so when they launched the first pilot with like 4 episodes, glued, then the second season, third season, and now I'm waiting for the fourth season. Man, it is freaking awesome. Castlevania.
Oh, right. Yeah, the next one. I'm also about to start watching Invincible.
What is that? I'm not familiar with that.
Invincible is based on a comic book of epic proportions. Read it; it's awesome. Let's do this. When we talk about, the hashtag IDGAF, what it means is I don't give a fuck. And you hear people say that. You hear people say that, and when you hear people say that, it's usually right around the time they're about to do something dumb. Just really.
Oh man.
And here I'm going to give everybody the
I just
link.
Popped out the show.
Dear Sister Kenna, you're always welcome. If you want to come up and say hello, the door is always open for you. I'll give everybody a link to where they can read Invincible. So here's what I'm going to say. You deal with people saying, I don't give a fuck. They're about to do or say something stupid. And they use that as an excuse saying, well, I don't care about the consequences. I'm going to do this short-term stupid thing anyway. And what they're doing is they're giving themselves permission to say, well, I'm someone who is not constrained by social norms or conventions, and I'm going to do something reckless because of it.
Yeah.
And what I get out of this over and over again, is, unfortunately, people don't realize that you can say, I don't give a fuck, and still, let me say that again, still do something positive. One of the things I had to learn early is that there are certain things that I'm never going to be socially acceptable for it. You may too. Like when you decided, let's take a very blatant example, right? Before we get into some of the more nuanced ones, you were someone who had a drinking problem. You are a self-acknowledged man who used to be an alcoholic. Well, at some point when you said, I'm going to clean up my act, I don't think that was a free transfer. I think that came with some cheese. I think that cost you.
Yeah. That's a real interesting way to put it. Yeah, you have to give up something. Nothing is. If there's one thing I wish the world would remember is that there's not really once you reach a certain point, there's not really better or worse. There is merely exchanges. There are merely exchanges, and one of the exchanges I made in that, following that same kind of that analogy, one of the big exchanges I made was I said, okay, I am not whatever it costs for me to drink because of my relationship with alcohol. I don't want to pay that price anymore. I want to get that money back. What it gave up, right? Well, what do I give up? Turns out it was something relatively worthless. I inflated the worth of it. And all people who drink go through this. They worry about missing out. The FOMO. They worry about what people are going to think. They worry about, and then this is a big one. They worry about how they're going to think of themselves, and it's a big deal, right? But I had to go. I don't want to pay that price anymore. That's not worth it to me. So let me take this energy and put it somewhere else. Now I can't imagine, how well everything's gone over the past. What has it been now? Almost 8 years. I can't imagine having gone a different route. It just wouldn't have paid off as well. So I got in all trades. Both parties have to feel like they left better. Otherwise, you tend to get buyer's remorse, and that does not bode well for future interactions. And this is some basic economic theory, right? But I'm just applying it to decisions made for me and the world, right? So I feel like I got something out of it. I think the world is a little better place that I'm not out there, causing havoc and doing stupid things. I know that I have a very very tapped in to how my actions affect someone else's actions, and then how their actions affect a bunch of other people. So I know that every interaction I've had since then has been in a frame, sober state of mind. So at the very least, it's deliberate because of the way I want to, the way I value life and what I want to get out of it, and what I want to put out there, I know that I'm putting out good vibes. So I can sleep easy, and I didn't piss somebody off, right? Or or make someone question their faith in humanity. There's enough people that are going to make them do that anyway. I don't have to contribute to it, right? I'm not saying that me quitting drinking is going to make a huge effect on the world or even a minor one, but it will make an infinitesimally small one. It will make a small difference, and more importantly, in my world and how I perceive and interact, it makes the biggest difference it can make, and that's all that matters, right?
Well, what I also see is I see people who do that internal giving up something bad. I think that's easier. I think that's easier to socially get away with, because even the biggest jerk can't publicly say, "Oh, I wish you hadn't quit drinking."
Right.
I have some people who come to me for advice. I have some people who I mentor, some young men who I mentor, and one of the biggest things that they're dealing with is that fundamental being able to say, "I don't care that you don't like that I'm different, happier, and better."
Oh, it's hard.
He's going through the body transformation. I got him hooked on just a basic fundamental 5x5 weightlifting program. He's eating better. Eating better doesn't mean eating diet food. It means he only eats stuff that's not pre-made, and beef, chicken, fish, rice, just actual food. That's it. I said, eat as much as you want. Just no junk food, sugar-free anything. He has been, over the past 40-something days, amazed that he doesn't have to eat lettuce sandwiches, that he can eat an entire an entire steak with a potato and rice covered in butter, go lift some heavy weights, still lose fat, and he can see himself getting bigger. In the beginning, people looked at him and they said, "Wow, I'm so happy for you. I can see your weight going down." Now he's getting into that area where people are starting to do, and I went through this. Well, I mean, what are you going to be, a bodybuilder now?
Right.
And now he's dealing with people who he loves, who we believe love him, are telling him that if you're going to say, "I don't give a fuck about becoming a better person," you're going to have to not be part of our tribe anymore. That tribe of people who are accepting being mediocre or average. And I'm going to disagree with you, Black Torch said, "You can't give up women. I know they're bad for me." I disagree with that. It's how you interact with them. We can have this discussion if you want to come up. But any problem you're having with women, and I say this from one of the most paternal, machismo ways I possibly can, if the women you're with are happy and you're happy, it's 80% your fault because you're a man. If the women you're with are unhappy and you're unhappy, it's still 80% fault yours as a man. You can remedy this. I decided I was going to say I don't give a fuck about. Like, I tell people all the time, I'm very open about this. And shout out to anybody who's a relative of mine who can give me pictures from this point in my life. I was the fat kid who got beat up all the time. I went to bed till I was like 14. I decided at a certain point in life, I don't really give a fuck if people are okay with it. I'm just going to get better. I started changing the things I was reading when I went from being a boy to a man, thing my parents wanted me to read to what I wanted to read. And when I started doing better in school, I saw, that change. When I decided, you know what, I don't give a fuck that you're unhappy, that I get to have scholarships. I mean, it's a very different situation, because now when we say I don't give a fuck and I'm not going to do something stupid, I'm going to do something better for myself. That's when the crisis, the cost really starts to mount up. You find yourself surrounded by fewer people. But what I've learned earlier, you talked about this. You said you find yourself surrounded by people who you can no longer relate to, and you have to find a circle of your peers. I tell people my circle of friends and peers and men that I respect on a deeper level, he was pretty small, but they're all madmen. Like, they're all complete lunatics who decided, I'm going to live life on my own terms.
Yeah, that's key. I think when people go, I don't give a fuck, right? A lot of times that's a defense mechanism, man. Like, it's not done proactively. It's done reactively, and that's the big difference. Because first of all, whenever you react to something, you are by definition behind. You don't get to like you're not planning. You're having your plans dictated by some other force or person. And so when you're about to do something dumb and you can feel that disapproval come on, then usually we dial up the I don't give a fucks, right? And you go, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to acknowledge what you say because I want to do this. I want to, like you said, indulge in that short term, instant gratification. When it comes time to do it the other way, to be proactive and go, I don't care how this is going to make other people feel. I don't care what this is going to do, how much this hurts, what I'm going to have to give up to get it. I want that outcome. And you go and you proceed to do everything you need to do to make that outcome a reality. A funny thing will happen, like you said. First, you start getting that support, that immediately cheer on, cheer on. But as you change, as you grow, as you develop, you also change in other ways. And the people around you are going to be forced to change in response to you. No human exists
Even
by
if that response
themselves.
is I don't want to be around you anymore.
Huh?
Even if that response is I don't want to be around you anymore.
Right. I think about some of the people who in one way or the other cut themselves off from my life. And I did one day. You think about these things. I'm human. I can't go like fuck it because first of all, there's a level of not caring that is destructive.
Right.
We already talked about the instant destruction, but then there's the subtle, long term, turn up the water slowly kind of destruction, and that's where you're not considering that you might be wrong, that you might be incorrect, that maybe you did something off. And it's not to go, okay, always be apologetic, but you have to be aware how you interact with people. So anytime something happens where I'm where the outcome is apparently negative to me, a loss, I go and reflect. And when I lost some of the people in my life, I reflected. And I do this reflection often. I did it at one point in my life. I did it again, and I did it again. There's three major changes in my life where this has happened. And one of the things that stood out like a sore thumb is that when I stopped drinking and I said, okay, I'm not, and I didn't make a huge fanfare until I had at least 1 month in, and I was like, okay, now I'm serious. You get the support, you get the cheers, you get a lot of that, right? A lot of people are like, yay, change, go, right? But deep down, they don't expect you to stick with it. And not only do they not expect you to stick with it, they don't, and most people don't realize the other changes that are going to occur because of this, right?
What do you mean? Go into that.
Okay, so when I stop drinking, for example, all that energy goes into something constructive, right? In 2 years, my life looks completely different. In 4 years, it's like, who the hell are you? Like, and then not just who the hell are you, and they go like personality wise, I am still fundamentally me, same, still making the same jokes. Here's how fundamentally the same my personality is. A lot of the crazy jokes I put up are from memories of on Facebook from freaking 8-9 years ago. Like I'm the same dude, but what's happened is I'm the same dude who's in a stable, fun relationship. I'm the same dude who's got enough money to go do whatever he wants. I'm the same dude whose life is full of positivity. I'm the same guy, and my opinions haven't changed. The difference now is you can't attack me, but on ad hominem. Now you have to deal with my thought process and see how your thought process matches up. And I look at all these things, and I lost a lot of people, not that time period, but 2 to 3 years in of the sobriety, where you can know where all the positive changes are happening. But now you can't. But now what it came down to, the positive changes are happening. My thought process, I don't think like them. So now because before it was easy to say you think a certain way, so that's why your life is that way. Then my life becomes this way, and it's, well, you still think that way. Ugh. Now I got to deal with this cognitive dissonance being reflected in my reality. We both can't exist and be correct. So either you're wrong or I'm wrong. And since I'm not wrong and I'm not going to be open minded, that's how most people are. I got to be wrong and then I get cut off. That's very much how it goes. You know, I had people criticize my sense of humor, and it's easy to do that when I'm just drinking Ed who's fighting. It's very hard to criticize my sense of humor, and from an ad hominem level when I demonstrate that I don't want to. I really don't like to use the word above or better because
So, well, here's the thing: we got to be comfortable saying we're at the very least better than someone who never tried. We're at the very least better than the person who you use the phrase twice that I want you quit touching your microphone. It's aggravating.
Oh, my bad, yo. I was just moving. All right, I'll stop it. I keep forgetting that feedback kicks up. All right, cool.
You use the word ad hominem. I want you to explain to the people just in case they don't know.
Okay, yeah. So an ad hominem attack, or the ad hominem fallacy, as is often introduced, is when instead of arguing the idea or the point or the logic that a person is making, you attack the person's character who is making it. Rather than rather than deal with the message, you go, I don't like the message, I'm gonna shoot the messenger, pretty much. And so that is, and people do that a lot. Maybe they don't even know they do that, but that's why you can be, and I observe this time and time again, not just in myself, but in the lives of people who have made changes and who have not. You can have any type of crazy, socially unacceptable, disagreeable idea when people can attack your character. Right, when they can go, okay, well, he ain't shit, so that's why he does that. That's why he thinks that way. It's very different when your character, for the most part, they got to start digging when the quick attacks. Right, you're out of shape, you're broke,
Right.
you're lonely.
Right.
When they don't have those to attack and pick off, then they have to confront your thoughts and ideas differently. And I lost, hey. But that's cool because now it's just like, you stop caring, and this is, to bring it back to not caring what people think. It's not so much that you stop caring what everyone thinks. It's that you form your locus of your locus of control becomes internal. That's how you start to live. You go by your own value system and what's important to you and the people you want to surround you. And you start living by that. That's what you care about, right? And then when you do that, two things happen. First, the immediate obvious one, you start to collect people who think like you and will hold you to a standard. And there's nothing wrong with an upstanding person. We'll just use that to collectively mean someone on your level holds you to a standard. And then they question you on something you do. Because that person, first of all, is usually going to be at a point where they know not to question most things. But when they do question something, ideally they've built up enough trust with you and you trust their opinion and their perspective on how they live that you go, okay, Watt's saying this to me. Let me think about it. Right? Because Watt doesn't come to me with normal shit because we're on the same page and we respect one another. So if he's saying something to me, I know it's a big deal. That's one of the things that
there is a phrase, and I wish I could tell you that I came up with it, but when I was a younger man, it was one of my older mentors who helped me put it together. I've had a couple of situations, and this almost exclusively happens with people in my family. I have quite a large extended family. I'm an only child, but I have lots of cousins, lots of aunts. I mean, it's a lot of them. I have cousins old enough to have had children that were older and younger than me growing. I mean, just a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting into a conversation with someone who I immediately realized wasn't having a good faith discussion. A discussion that was based in, well, maybe you're right or maybe I'm right. We'll just talk about it. And I remember using the phrase that I had in my back pocket for this situation. It was, you're talking to me as the man that I should have become instead of the man that I chose to be.
Absolutely.
And that was the whole sentence. And I just, you're talking to me like the man I should have become instead of the man I chose to be. And I just stopped. Well, what do you mean? I'm saying, if you continue to, I'll just never talk to you again. There's a guy named Man of Tomorrow who I love talking to this guy. He goes live all the time. I hope everybody checks him out. And I put I had a conversation with him about it, and he also had it in one of his live chats. He said something. He said, the best thing you can do is tell someone, the biggest threat you can make to someone who decides to speak to you in a way that you decide not to be spoken to, you just calmly say to them, if this ever happens again, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to remove myself from your life and you from mine. I'll never say anything bad about you. I'll never mention your name online. I'll never talk to you again. I'll never talk to anyone about you. If someone asks me about you, I'll say, I have nothing to say about that person. And any benefit to knowing me you ever had will vanish forever.
Yep. Dude, you know, this is a side note, but you want to talk about how to handle disagreements with people online in the space. That I had to figure this out because I'm big enough now to where even disagreeing with me, if I respond, if you decide you want to make an attack on me and I respond to your attack publicly, you win. Like I did, you benefit no matter what if I respond to you. If I say something negative about you to other people. So now I have that. That's got to be my attitude. I have like a small circle of people, almost all of them in real life I can talk to about if some shit go down, and I just want to bounce it off their chest. But a person has to lose. Yeah, that is some powerful side game. Anyone who's listening, because what people want more than people want energy, right? They don't really care. Most of them don't really care how it is given to them, whether they, earn it through respect or they gain it through attention. And attention, respect tends to be at the very least constructively earned. At the very least, no one can get respect immediately. You got to kind of earn it. But attention, you can, right? You can get notoriety. That the only difference between notoriety and attention is, what you did and what people think about it. Notoriety and praise, I guess. Either way, it's one is negative, positive, but either way, people are looking at you and they know about you. It's like people go, oh man, I was on prime time once. What show? Cops. Like, oh shit, that kind of thing. Okay, but the side note to that, and then I'll move on to the other thing is if someone is not vibing with you, you just cut them out and they never exist. Vanishing is worse. Like that's a true punishment for a lot of people. Disappearance and making sure that you no longer gain anything. It's nothing bad, nothing good. They should, if someone asks about you to them, it's like I don't even. It's effectively I don't know them. All right, they have nothing to say. But back to the other thing that occurs when you start living by value. First, you get a collection of people who have similar values that bolster those values that you care about now. But you also slowly but surely start to chip away and cut away at people who don't have those values or won't respect you now that you have those values. They bother them. Self-improvement. Well, one thing that is just you experience a lot. The older you get, you experience a lot. You go through some things. You figure a lot of things out about life because that's the only way. You got to move through, bump into some walls, and you learn about that particular wall. And one wall I learned about was the upsetting of the status. Was the upsetting of the status quo. Because when you look at how I spent the majority of my life around the peers I had because of the way my life, went. For the most part, there was a set level of status and perspective, and that relatively quickly changed. And my really good friends, my homies that you've been through up downs, the guys you done fought with, made up with, and you guys understand one another, and you really built like you basically family. No change, right? They're like all happy and everything like there. But the people who were like on the periphery, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. You have two reactions. One the more positive is they go, okay, man, you look like you're getting your shit together. Let's have a conversation now, because I wasn't really sure about you. You just kind of likable, but now you look like you might be a serious dude. Let me have you around more. Let me learn from you. Let me see if I introduce you to my family, right? And then there's the other reaction where they're like, who does this motherfucker think he
Yeah,
is?
yeah. Oh, get
And
this. One of my personal favorites, I had a situation with another YouTuber who has far more followers than I do, who decided to just make some really inflammatory statements about me. And what he was doing, he was trying to poke me. And I got a lot of messages. Hey, YusefWateef, man, you gotta check this out. You gotta check this out. And I looked at it, and then I went into my YouTube settings. And a lot of people don't know this on YouTube. You have a settings menu where you can put in banned words. Like, for example, if you left a comment with an F-bomb in it, it wouldn't even show up. If you left a comment,
oh, no kidding.
yeah, if you left a comment with, racist words in it, I have all those words blocked out. I added his name to the blocked out thing. So people can't even leave a comment. He couldn't even leave a comment, or people couldn't leave a comment about him saying, hey, did you know this person did this? And then you can also add, there are people, if they're signed in under an account, that you can just say, we'll never see your channel. So
Yep.
I put him in that category, and people were shocked. They were like, you're not going to say anything? I was like, why would I?
For what? Like,
okay, well, he said that. That's awesome. I don't think he understood that if he said that and 100 people heard him, 80% of the people weren't going to like me no matter when they met me. 20% of the people are going to investigate who I am. Out of that 20%, maybe 2 or 3 of them are going to go, I think he's kind of cool.
right. It's in the attention economy, the rules of engagement have changed. Or maybe they've always been that way, and most of us were never in a position to ever have to deal with them, right? Like excommunication was a thing at one point, for ousted royalty and leaders. We're not going to kill you, but you can't come around here anymore. And if we see you again, then we will. Well, and even worse, I watch a lot of these documentaries, and I love seeing this. I never understood it, but having this conversation, this makes a lot more sense. We're not going to kill you. We're going to excommunicate you, and we're actually going to give you a stipend. We're going to make sure your life is all right. It's not going to be rough, but you ain't never going to be, like, your face will never be associated with the crown, with the family, with the country ever again. Bye-bye. And if you don't like it, then we might have to shoot you. Then we might have to put you, on the block and guillotine you. So, like, it's a really interesting idea how that works, because when you do that, right? We'll just take something crazy, like in the revolutions, both times. I love studying the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, because you kind of get to see what the recipes are, or what it takes for a population overthrow. This, by the way, is why I think the revolution is never coming in the West, studying those two. But that's a side conversation. But one of the things you learn is that both with the royal family, I always get the Louis mixed up, so I'm not even going to try. But with Tsar Nicholas II, in both cases, they tried to, like, send them away and, like, you're out. And they didn't try and come back, if I remember right. But eventually, some extremists was like, nah, they gotta die. Here's the thing, though. They didn't want to kill them because they understood what happens when you do that. You create martyrs. You spring up loyalties. You create people who have a reason to hate you. You make your life harder than it has to be if you're trying to seize power. And then, unless you're going to seize it absolutely, look how long Stalin and was,
Well, there was a podcast. I'll have to go back to it and try and find it for you. There is a guy who studies negotiation, and he does it on a governmental level internationally. They were trying to tackle the issue of dictators and warlords that have accumulated vast wealth at the expense of their countries. And the question was, how do we get out of this situation? Because everyone wants a military solution or have the people rise up. And there is a man who wrote a paper. I've got to go back and find it. I'm sure it's in my archive somewhere. He said, I have a proven solution that we've done on a small scale in some other places that I presented, and people act like I don't exist. Because on a larger scale, we know it works. On a smaller scale, no one's going to go for it. He said what they have found when they experimented with this in small time dictators in tiny places, if you go up to them and say, we have a deal for you, you see your family, and all your cronies cede power back to the people, whether or not they know what they're doing. You can keep everything you stole and leave the country. Now, the reason that doesn't work is because if your father was beheaded by his goons for educating children in ways that they didn't think were necessary, if your mother had been made a rape slave by soldiers who saw her as less than human, you're not okay with saying, look, let them just take it and go. And that's the problem with his solution. He's like, over the long term, it works. Because when a lot of people don't understand that dictators and strong arm guys, goons on a governmental level, understand one rule. The only way out is death.
Right.
So they're prepared to do anything to keep what they have, because the only way out for them is death. And not just their death, the death of their wives, the death of their children, the death of their families. I have a friend who, and I'm not going to be specific, he is from an African country. We met traveling the world. The dude is awesome. He's fun, speaks multi languages. He came from a definition of rich that most Americans don't know what real rich is. Like, there are a lot of very wealthy Americans, but there are far fewer extraordinarily rich Americans than there are in like Latin America or Africa.
Yeah.
But most people don't know that. They don't know that level of rich. Like, when you go there, they're like, okay, this is Andrea and Roger. They're your personal work people. This cook is assigned to you. And if you want to go somewhere, just pick the car, and here are your personal 2 bodyguards. And what do you want to do? Oh, we're flying some big name celebrities in to sing for us at dinner. Like that kind of rich. You know, an interesting story Fat Joe talks about when this dude from Africa called him for a concert, and they paid him, and when he got there, it was like for like one goon and his team. And they paid him a shit ton of money. He was like, and he realized when they got off the plane, oh, these people aren't government. These are the
these are just regular
they'd be like, oh, you want to have Fat Joe come rap for us for dinner? Here, just throw some gold at him. And he was like, he thought he was coming to a stadium and it's going to be awesome. And there was like a room full of people there. And he's like, you better sing your ass off. But in any case, I got to look that up with a little podcast. But, you know, and that's the problem. He said that when you give people the option of saying, listen, there is a chance for your children not to grow up under this dictatorship if we just tell them, hit the road. We don't execute them. We don't murder their children. And then people are like, no. I saw my children put into a ditch and a mass grave. I'm not letting his children go.
This is exactly, I mean, almost to the key. Not quite a dictator, but if you look at the story of Escobar, this was the big problem with Pablo Escobar. They came up with the same solution, well, similar solution. They were going to let Escobar go to Germany. And he was going to leave, and all he had to do was just they waged a bloody war. I mean, it really because what happened is illegal people got together who weren't bound by the rules of the government, and they started picking off Pablo's people and then turned Colombia into a war zone. So to end this, they were going to let them go to Germany, and there was a big debate, and they were like, we really got to get this guy. And ultimately, who killed him, I believe, while they found him, like where he was hiding, they were chasing him. It was somebody who was shooting at him, if I remember right.
On top of the building. I believe he was talking to his son on his son's birthday.
Yeah. And that's how they found him, but then they chased him out. And I don't know if that was dramatized, but yeah, he was like running out on the roof of the building trying to escape, and they found him. And I found that so interesting. Like when you're talking about that tactic, they're like, if you just let him go, you can keep everything. And he was like, after they did enough damage to him, then he was like, that deal might be okay. And then finally they were like, at this point we really can't. But it was on the table.
My whole thing is, this is what I was surprised at. You know, a lot of people don't know that one of the biggest forces that the American NASA organization had is we took Nazis who knew a lot about space. We didn't kill them or put them in jail, said, teach us your stuff. Could you imagine what would happen if they put Pablo Escobar at the head of a room with a whiteboard and a piece of chalk and had every Stay with me. Every major governmental economist and financier had to sit down. He says, we run a month-long boot camps. Your job is to write shit down and shut the fuck up. Do you know what he could teach people about how it works? Do you know what he could teach people about structure and organization? Like, because everybody understands on a ground level it's violence, but the level of structure and organization you have to run something like that. Could you imagine if he just taught a class on how to recruit loyal people?
Right.
What if he taught a class on how to decide how to promote?
This is effectively what they let the hell is the guy's name? Jordan Belfort do when he got out of you know.
Right. You know what Jordan Belfort and the Russian guys had in common, right? I mean, the German guys had in common that we're all criminals.
What? They were white?
They're white. So that option was open for them.
Yeah, you know, like Chris Rock has got a great joke, and you know it was a joke, but now you fast forward what when the Bringing the Pain come out, you fast forward about 25 years, and he's like, you know, there's the only reason why weed and coke in America ain't legal in America is because the best weed and the best coke don't come from America. Now they got the growers and the houses, and now the best weed comes from America. So guess what's happening? Look at how legal. I've been to 2 cities in the past 4 months where weed is legal, and it smells the air in DC and the air in Vegas smells like weed. It just
I'm out of there. That's not for me. Well, let's bring it home. Let's bring it home a little bit. Also, you know what I want to do is I also want to, you know, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That's how this channel grows. That's how we've been able to meet so many engaging people. This is how we've been able to have so many great discussions. So like BK always says, please like, share, and subscribe. But I'm also going to show you my Patreon. Like when I talk about where we get to have a lot of financial discussions, where me and a bunch of other just squares, I mean, real squares who are businessmen who and I'm gonna have to do a video on what it's like to be a square in 2021 because we out here just winning. It's hilarious. We have a Patreon for business. I tell people the Patreon is more business, less fun. Don't come to the Patreon thinking we're gonna have a jolly old time what we do here. Here we talk about bootstrapping businesses. We talk about what it's like to import, what it's like to export. If anybody watched the other day, I had a woman whose family started trampoline parks in Brazil. They're gonna go over the entire business process to get licensed in Brazil for all that, you know? And that's what's here. That's what's here. Let's see. Less fun. But I just don't want anybody to say, hey, you know, I thought this Patreon was going to be a barrel of laughs. It's not. It's not. That's not what they're for, you know? I think that I hope that if we've shown anyone anything here, that not giving a fuck doesn't have to mean you're going to do something that's going to catch you a felony. It doesn't mean you're going to do something that's socially disruptive. If you could look in the mirror and say, I have the courage to not care if I go on and put on 20 pounds of muscle over these next couple of years. Oh, right. You know what? Hold on. We had a question. Black Torch said, what diet am I talking about? Right? Here's the diet I'm talking about. The diet I'm talking about is no fast food and nothing with added sugar to drink. Like I just drink diet soda, diet Coke, diet water. I have diet Coke with lime sometimes. Diet Kool-Aid. I eat lots of meat. I eat a lot of meat. I eat a moderately high amount of rice and beans. But it's actually very hard to not be able to become a big, strong weightlifter when all you're eating is real meat, rice, beans, fish, chicken, cheese. It's really, really hard not to. But most Americans don't know that because all they're doing is eating fast food, junk food.
Dude,
you know,
I literally just had a call. We were discussing this problem with we were discussing this problem in regards to controlling weight. Is that the average American has no idea how processed their food is. So in processed food, because the incentive is profit, not nutrition, they put a lot of things in to increase that profit. That usually means putting things in that increases the likelihood of you eating more of it. like high fructose corn syrup and a bunch of nonsense, right? But when you get away from that stuff, those calorically rich foods, and start focusing on nutrient dense foods, you'd be amazed. Like for example, most people don't eat enough protein, and they think they are because the protein they eating ain't shit, right? You got to go, hey, make yourself a steak. Go out to the mall and get a chicken if you don't have the money. The chicken's so cheap. There's a great cheap source of protein. You get that protein, you get that rice. All of a sudden, you're instantly down 10 pounds. Just because you're going to eat less because your body's like, oh, we got everything. We don't need to. That's why you're hungry a lot of the times. I mean, there are other things that contribute. I don't want to make it that simple, but a large contributing factor is that your food is not giving you enough nutrients, and your body knows this, and it's like, okay, we need to eat more. But if you go and slam, I was saying one of the big secrets to my success lately is my first meal of the day is about 100 grams of protein. It's like a tuna steak or a haddock steak of fish or an actual steak and like 3 eggs and some coffee. And dude, I don't want to eat for another few hours. But if I make some potatoes and rice, I will not eat the rest of the day unless I'm forced to, or I remind myself to get the rest of the calories. Because your body's just like, all right, man, we're good. Like, what are you doing? We don't need anything else. And the problem right now is that Americans' food is so diluted and so full of trash. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like, it's not just because you're in America. It's because the capitalism got mixed with nutrition, and they figured it was a way to make money. And now we're all 80% fucking overweight. You know.
So I was just sharing some of the stuff for the kind of food that I'm eating regularly in Brazil. It's much easier for, like, I got on the scale the other day. I haven't gained any weight during quarantine at all. Now, to be clear, I'm just working out with my kettlebell. And I know my muscles I'm flat because I don't have the gym open so I can lift giant heavy weights. But the fact that I will just go order, because I can order anything I want delivered, my entire grocery list, I will just do all the recipes I've ever wanted to do. And for me, and a lot of people think it's kind of boring, I'm fine with putting a big piece of meat with some of the Brazilian spices in my air fryer and a baked potato and a head of broccoli with some butter on it, and I can eat that for days. And I know
what's crazy to me, dude. What's crazy to me is I hear you saying that, and that sounds delicious. Like, that's how we eat on a regular. But most people think that's terrible. Here, at least here, I don't know how it is down in Brazil. It sounds like there's probably a greater acceptance of that type of eating and a greater excitement around it. But once you learn how to cook and use spices, and you have a little time, you don't need much, but a little time to do it, it'll change your life.
My air fryer put my husband out of business. That air fryer, once I discovered that you can do so much with it, wow.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting an air fryer. It just seems like a quick. It seems like what's the word I want? What the Foreman grill? It seems like the Foreman grill, but like on crack in terms of what you're able to do with it and the speed you're able to do it with.
And here's the thing: you don't have to add any oil to it. You can just put a piece of meat in there. And shout out to the people who understand. I don't get lean pieces of meat. I get pieces of meat with some fat through them, so I can just put them in the air fryer, rub them down with one of the Brazilian spices, and just eat it. And some salt. I eat salt. And my blood pressure is amazing. The doctors are always saying, "Wow, you're awesome." But it's one of those things. A lot of people, especially in the United States, we just don't have that thing that says you made it. I don't know. It's hard. It's just hard.
It's a bit of a mess in this country in terms of nutrition, but people, you can't. Well, we have. It's a very problem, man, and like I've actually, like, I don't want to say given up, but I don't try to educate people on the right way to do things, but because it's simple. But it's challenging for the average person to think. For example, for exercise, right? Here's one thing that like was like version 2.0, but like the truth that we're learning, exercise don't. I mean, it matters. Obviously, you want to be strong and in shape, but if we're talking about just being lean, what matters more is just staying in a caloric deficit. You can't outrun. You can't outtrain a fucking bad habit, a bad diet. You can't do it. It's not possible. But people think, oh man, I'm gonna go like walk this off. You can be walking that off for a long time to create that deficit.
Cardio to lose weight. Cardio is only to help your heart, your joints, your circulation.
Yep.
Not gonna. By the way, thick cut bacon in an air fryer is a new level of amazing.
That's great. I'm a dude. Okay, you didn't sold me. I'm gonna pick one up. Because I've been looking for a way to get. I stopped eating bacon for a little while because I was like, all right, because the fat to protein ratio wasn't ideal. A piece of fish was just better for what I was trying to accomplish. But if I can get the fat ratio down, and it sounds like the air fryer helps you do that, that's pretty solid.
Well, listen, let's wrap this up by giving people the one thing I'm not quite sure. Let's see, we got, hey, if you need me professionally, great. If not, listen, catch me at YusefWateef@gmail.com. Send me an email, YusefWateef@gmail.com. Okay? And Kenna said her spices are a game changer. So let's do this. I'm going to give everybody my LinkedIn because, as a lot of you know, one of my main jobs is I'm an expat relocation services. I help people move to Brazil legally, help them get their paperwork done. And after you go here on my LinkedIn, I say, add me on LinkedIn. You can look at what I do professionally, and that's all well and good. But the reality is, I tell people, don't just look at the resume, right? It talks about how long I've done things and, blah, 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 and helping people with visas and resumes. I tell people the important part is at the bottom. The important part is where it says, wait for it, recommendations. This is where other business professionals, under their own name and under their company's name, will say YusefWateef is who he claims to be and what he claims to be. And that's just it. That's just it. On that note, let's do this. I want to say thank you. I know your time is pretty valuable. You got some stuff you got to take care of as well. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. This has been a great conversation just in general, very enlightening. You gave me I think the first topic that I'm going to write about in my new kind of paid membership community, and I was thinking about how to start it off and market it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's something I think is important to discuss. So there we go, dig deep. So already conversation is worthwhile. It's always worthwhile though.
All right, brother. You have a great day. We're going to click end broadcast. You can hang around for a quick second. We'll see if there's anything he said he's getting his air fryer. So